Hello everyone, my name is Diva Calista from Home Group 3. Today me and my friend going to present about several topics, starting from the shape of Earth, the greenhouse effect, the plate tectonics, the biodiversity, the history of biogeographic, and the last one is natural disturbance. Let's get started.
Hello everyone, my name is Gavi from Home Group 3. So today I would like to explain my CL1 discourse about the shape of Earth. So first is, Earth is not spherical, it is actually shaped as oblate ellipsoid and also Earth shaped as geoid. The equatorial radius for oblate ellipsoid is 12,756 km, is greater than polar radius 12,714 km. The geoid is the shape the ocean surface will take under the influence of the gravity rotation of Earth alone. Furthermore, it is also explained in CL1 DCL that density of Earth mass is heterogeneous, is also covered with melted rock, oil, and gas. Before that, Earth is evolved in elliptical orbit around the combined center of mass of the Sun-Earth system. The farthest one is aphelion, and the closest to the Sun is perihelion. Next is map projection. Map projection is a result of Earth shape. Earth map projection is a method from cartographic technique. The method is by making Earth's spherical surface into 2D. The method of geometries is by projecting Earth onto other geometries, example conical, cylindrical, and azimuth projection. As for geographic information system, is the combine of geospatial data to create an accurate digital version of Earth. So the version of geographic information system is Earth, while geometries is doing it manual. Next is Earth rotation. There are two Earth rotation. It can be counterclockwise when we feel it above the north, and as for west to east, we can feel it from North Pole. The rhythm of the sun caused by Earth rotation, which can affect environmental like day and night cycle, weather system, rise and fall of tides, and finally temperature cycle. Finally, geography grid. There are two directions. First is meridian from north or south, and the second one is parallel. It can be east or west. It is mentioned that is the meridian and parallel, it can be combined or for the direction of Earth. For the angle, latitude angle is between a point on a parallel and the center of the Earth and the point equator. As for longitude, is the angle between a point on a meridian at the equator and a point on the prime meridian at the equator as measured at Earth's center. That's all for me. Thank you very much.
Okay, so on to the next topics. I'm going to talk about the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect is a process that occurs when the gases in the Earth's atmosphere trap in sun's heat. The process makes Earth much warmer than it would be without an atmosphere. The greenhouse effect is one of the things that makes the Earth a comfortable place to live. So what is the greenhouse effect and what is actually happened? As you can see in the picture, the first step is the solar radiation reaches the Earth's atmosphere. Some of this is reflected back into the space, and the rest of the sun's energy is absorbed by the land, also by the ocean, heating the Earth. And then, as you can see in the presentation, the heat radiates from Earth towards the space. And then some of this heat is trapped by the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere keeping the earth warm enough to sustain alive. Other than all of this, the human activities such as burning fossil fuels, agriculture, and land clearing and increasing the amount of greenhouse gases released into the atmosphere. And then this this is trapping extra heat and causing the earth temperature to rise. Like I mentioned briefly before, I'm going to explain a little bit more about the causes of the greenhouse effect. So the first one, we got a burning of fossil fuels. The fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas have become an integral part of our life. They are used on large bases to produce electricity and for transportation. When they are burned, the carbon stored inside them is released, which combine with the oxygen in the air to create carbon dioxide. With the increase in the population also, the number of the vehicle have also increased, and this has resulted in increase in the pollution in the atmosphere. When these vehicles run, they release carbon dioxide, which is one of the main gas responsible for increase in the greenhouse effect. Second one is deforestation. Forests hold a major green area on the planet Earth. Plants and trees intake carbon dioxide and release oxygen through the process of photosynthesis, which is required by the humans and the animals to survive. Large-scale development has resulted in cutting down trees and forests, which has forced people to look for alternate places for living. When the wood is burned, the stored carbon is converted back into carbon dioxide. The third one is the increase in population, as I mentioned before. Now, has resulted in increased demand for food, clothes, and shelter. New manufacturing hubs have come up cities and towns that release some harmful gases into the atmosphere, which increase the greenhouse effect. So the next causes is by farming. Nitrous oxide is one of the greenhouse gas that is used in fertilizer and contributes to greenhouse effect, which in turn leads to a global warming. Next causes is industrial waste and landfills. Industries which are involved in cement production, fertilizer, coal mining activities, oil extraction produce harmful greenhouse gases. Also, landfills filled with the garbage produce carbon dioxide and methane gas contributing significantly to the greenhouse effect. Other than all the causes that I mentioned before, the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere can caused by humans. For example, is the burning from the gasoline in our cars and trucks, the burning from jet fuels in our planes, the burning from coal in our factories or power plants, or the burning from trees to clear the land for farming. And then from this, the carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide will be poisonous to breathe for the human, so it's not good for the health of the people. So these are some of the major greenhouse gases. The first one is carbon dioxide from burning organic materials such as coal, oil, wood, and solid waste. The next one is methane. This is the main component of natural gas. Methane is released from landfills, natural gas, and petroleum industries, also agriculture. The next one is nitrous oxide, and then, of course, industrial gases. So now I'm going to talk about the effect of the greenhouse gases. The first one is global warming. The greenhouse gas level have been increasing since the start of the Industrial Revolution. The total greenhouse itself have increased by about 80% since the 1970s. Second one is the ocean acidification. Increases in carbon dioxide level have made the world's ocean 30% more acidic since the Industrial Revolution. And then other effects is the changes to plant growth and nutrition level, and air pollution, of course, and then last one is the problem for the human health. So how can we reduce the greenhouse gases? One of the best ways to reduce greenhouse gas emission is to limit energy consumption. Using energy in many of its forms come with the negative externality of releasing greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. And then next one is to limit waste. Wasteful and needless consumption contributes greatly to the release of the greenhouse gases. And third one, plant trees. Another way to reduce the greenhouse effect is to plant trees and other plant because as of their natural life cycle, plants absorb carbon dioxide from the photosynthesis. And then, of course, other way that us human could do is reduce, recycle, and reuse. That is from me. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Christianus Gerry Wijaya and today I'm going to be presenting about plate tectonics. So, in the first section, I'm going to be telling you about Wilson cycle, and the next one is supercontinent, and the last one is about continental collision. So, the first one is Wilson cycle. The Wilson cycle is where mainland crack splits up a landmass, prompting the arrangement of in an ocean basin and between the two lithospheric plates. So the separation itself gonna form two plates is followed later by intermingling that prompts the conclusion of the seaball and inevitably to the crash of the continental blocks of the two continental blocks. Here is the process of superposition. If we have the ocean opening continent destruction, we're gonna start with stable continent, and the next one is rift basin, and the third one is young passive margin. The third one is the maturity itself of the mature passive margin, and the next one is ocean subduction. The fifth one is early collision or mature subduction. The sixth one is continental origin, and the last part, it is a stable continent. On the other side, the ocean closing, the last part is cratonic sac basin. Per continent cycle, it is the semi-occasional total and dispersal of Earth mainland outside layer. There are fluctuating subposition with respect to whether diminishing or remaining about the equivalent, yet it is concurred that the Earth outside layer is continually being reconfigured. So in the early beginning of the Earth that being formed, we have some basic types and basic maps that by the time itself it's gonna evolve into the Earth that we know right now. So basically back then we have only for about 2 or 3 continents, and now we have 5 continents: Asia, Africa, America, and Europe, and Australia. So part is the continental collision. It is a phenomenon of the plate tectonics of Earth that occurs at convergent boundaries. So it makes some kind of boundaries from inside of the Earth out into the outside of the Earth. The continental collision is a variation on the fundamental process of subduction. So, fact about a continental collision, and the first one is that it is not an instantaneous movement. It is not an instantaneous process. It may take about tens of millions of years. It's going to be long years into for a continent and a continental to have collision. And the next one is that the formation of modern Southeast Asia that we know right now, it's the product of collision between India and Asia, because they force a large regions to cross and move them to the south to form the modern Southeast Asia that we know right now. And the last one is the collision of Arab and Asia moved Turkey away from west to south Mediterranean Sea. So yeah, that's it about plate tectonics. Thank you.
Now into the next one, we're going to talk about the ecosystem and the biodiversity. In Indonesia, the Indonesian diversity is one of the examples of several factors that are main supporting things, that is welfare of living things, such as the environment, the habitats, and including humans itself that is living in Indonesia. And the biodiversity of the environment becomes the focus point, and it is about how you recognize and sustainably manage them, so that all human needs and the environmental needs is fulfilled with the prosperity that it is achieved. And there are also the biodiversity threats. It is the first one is least concern, the next one is near threatened and vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered, extinct in the wild, and the last one is sadly extinct. And the endangerment itself is actually one of the reasons caused by the human activity, which is the first one is pollution, and the second one is fauna exploitation. The third one is destruction of habitat, and the last one is climate change. And take of the highest percentage is about 37% is the exploitation of the fauna and the flora, so that it takes the higher chance and it's a higher risk to the environmental, and following with 31.4% with the habitat degradation or the climate change itself. And there are some extinction types, which is the first one is a local extinction, and it is a condition is actually a species for in a family of taxon that cases that exist in the chosen geographic area to study, and though it is exist before, so the habitat itself that extinct in only in the local situation. For example, what we have here in Indonesia is Jalak Bali, that we have the example of the local extinction. Now to move on, we're going to talk about the global extinction. Is a widespread and rapid decrease in the biodiversity on the planet, on the earth. Such an event that is identified by a sharp change in the diversity and abundance in multicolor organisms. And we have a lot of examples in this case, but we took here as a dodo bird that is having a global extinction across the world. And the last one is mass extinction. It is divided into three parts of the extinction, which is the Permian, Triassic, and the Cretaceous. And mass extinction itself is a widespread and rapid decrease in the biodiversity on Earth. It is such an event is identified by a sharp change in the diversity and abundance of molecular organisms. And how we should stop this madness? How we stop this? How what is our efforts to do this? To cut off these things, so that we have the biodiversity conservation efforts, and it is split into two tasks, which is the first one is conservation methods, and the second one is conservation strategies. In the conservation methods, we divide it into two parts of the section, which is the first one is in situ conservation and the ex situ conservation. And the in situ conservation, it is a process of protecting an endangered plant or animal species in its natural habitat, which in ex situ conservation, it is a relocation of the endangered species or habitat that is it is a relocation of their species from their natural habitats to protect the areas that is equipped for the protection and the preservation of them. And we do have a lot of strategies here, but this is the most efficient way to do the conservation strategies, which is the first one is the conservation of the ecosystems, which we can conclude that all of the things is going to be happened in the future. And the second one is efficiency on the natural resources, the deforestation prevention, raise people awareness, reverse species declination, maintain biological aspects towards any habitats and any things, and prevent animal poaching. And that is all from the biodiversity conservation efforts.
So, history of biographic. This topic is talking about 6 main points. There are evolution, species, extinctions, spreads, distribution pattern, and the last one is biographical area. For the evolution, we're talking about the natural selection of the life sustainability. There is a variation talks about the result from mutation and changes of gene. New combination from current genetics, and last one, organism, are about the adaptation of each individual ecosystem. The desire of all living beings on Earth, including humans, is until recently only humans and animal and plants can live on the planet Earth. Species talks about the process of making a new one, and it came from the mutation, natural selection, genetic drift, gene flow, and isolation. Indonesian, also known for the high species and including the rich variation and the uniqueness of genes of all species, as well as having the diversity of ecosystem as organism. Extinction is explaining about the rapid changes in nature. Many species become dying and gone. Indonesia divided into two regions, namely the first one is Indo-Malaya and Australia. This among them is called Wallacea region. The formation of these two areas is result from a tectonic plate, and from the tectonic plate it can make the some species and plants become dying because of the changes in the environment. Next, the spreads are the organism ability to move from its original location to a new location. The spreads happen because of each stage of life. So, in Indonesia, both animals and plants other making some species become extinct because of the tectonic plate. This tectonic movement phenomena can make the spread of living organism into new places, so it spread to a new area. Distribution patterns are talking about the spreading species on Earth. So the distribution, the living creatures that live in the island of Indonesia are divided into 7 bioregions. Next, the last one is biogeographical areas. Biogeographical areas are talking about the boundaries that indicate the global scale in a certain environment. So, for example, biogeographical areas like Sumatera, Java, Bali, Kalimantan, Natuna, Anambas, Sulawesi, Nusa Tenggara, Maluku, and Papua. This is our biogeographical areas for human, for the animal, plant, or any living creature to live. This is called a biogeographical area. Thank you.
In natural balance system, it can be reviewed from the ecological restoration, energy and environment, also the earth sport capacity. In ecological restoration, when there's a broken or damaged ecosystem, it can be fully restored back again by its natural process called succession. And this succession has several patterns such as dunes. When there's a damaged sand dunes alongside the coast, it can get stabilized by mound of grass and it facilitates its growth of the plant itself. And also there are swarm succession when there's a sedge that form a floating mat, support other plants and can fill it in, creating a sediment and a whole new ecosystem. And the last one is oilfield, when there's an adapting to temperature and the precipitation in a long wide range, followed by the growth of the plants, forest plant species. And in successions, when the nature restored the ecosystem by itself, there are also several steps like the first one is the existence of the plant itself, and then small plants starting to grow, followed by the appearance of the big plants, until it's finally formed back again into a forest or a new ecosystem. But if we want to restore some disturbed ecosystem, there are also several steps needs to be done. The first one is we need to understand is necessary, why do we need to restore the ecosystem or something like that, and then we ecologically describe the area that needs to be restored. After that, we create a list of recovery goals or like which part of the ecosystem that needs to be restored or to be maintained, what we should do after that, and then developing a performance standards and planning it into project monitoring so we can keep an eye or watching the growth of the plant that needs to be recovered. And then we finally create or develop a strategy to ensure a long-term maintenance. In energy and environment, according to due to the law of conservation energy, when energy cannot be created or can be vanished, but it can be changed into another form, and there are several forms of energy that usually we use it for our humankind needs or works. The first one is mechanical energy, or second is chemical energy, and then electrical energy, nuclear, and etc. And all of this energy, we can utilize it to use in our daily needs or works. You can use these energy resources that already exist in nature or earth, such as they are divided into two energy resources. The first one is renewable energy, which we also know that it can be renewed because it has unlimited sources in nature. We can use the wind energy or solar or etc. And the second one is the non-renewable energy, where it derives from an organism, living things that cannot be no longer renewed if the sources are out of stock. And several example of renewable energy like the nuclear or the oil and gas or etc. But there are also, because we know that we couldn't rely on only on these energy resources, we created some alternative energy to fulfill our daily needs, such as these fuel cells. They can produce electrical energy or any other alternative energy. There's also some other several examples actually. On Earth's spore capacity, there are three domains of living things. The first one is the bacteria, archaea, and the eukaryota. And all these three domains of living things, it on a variety of habitats that are suitable for living. These all three domains all play a role in maintaining the balance of the earth for life support. And when nature provides everything that needed by the living things, so that the elements that make up the earth are numerous and interact with each other, it creates a balance of the earth as well as the balance energy. So that's why keeping all the elements that make up on the earth are needed to be protected in order to support our life.